We are in the format of Fire, the Year of Fire, a Tier 0 format, but this isn't the only Tier 0 format we've had in the past few years, so I just want to say, are Tier 0 formats good or bad, or somewhere in between? Let's dive into that, shall we? Now, some people say that Tier 0 formats are bad, and that's certainly an opinion that you can definitely have, and sometimes, yeah, they're not great for this or that. Maybe certain people don't want to play against the same deck all the time. I mean, if you go to a YCS, you pretty much prepare for one deck in a Tier 0 format, and if you play against anything else, you're not having a fun time. But hey, that's just one of the elements of having a Tier 0 format. It's not the best, but it does reduce the diversity. I mean, obviously it reduces the diversity as a Tier 0 format. Only one deck's being played. Prepare for one deck. That's all you need to do. It makes it simple for deck building, because you either play the best deck, the Tier 0 deck, or you just play something that beats it. And if your deck doesn't beat the Tier 0, then you're not doing anything, and take a break, play a different format or something, I guess. So that's like a reason it's bad. There are many other reasons. It like isolates players into like, I can afford the best deck, and I can't afford the best deck, or I need to be competitive, I am competitive, blah, blah, blah. And those who aren't competitive, the more casual players, tend to feel quite unwelcome. Not unwelcome. Ooh, what am I trying to say? They kind of feel like out of place. Like they don't want to be playing like the best deck. It gets kind of boring to always like try to win if you're a casual player. But if you're a competitive player, like having the best deck is, it's its own thing. It does promote one thing though: skill. It actually promotes skill, and to be a skillful player in a Tier 0 format, the better player usually wins events, because they know the interactions between the deck and itself. They know what to hit, when to hit, how to hit, why to hit, and also the niche interactions between the same decks. Like, the mirror matches that take place in Tier 0 formats are usually up to like micro decisions, or like small little things that don't really get picked up by the casual players, or sometimes even commentators. There's not really too much example on that I can give. I mean, the last Tier 0 format that I personally played in was Pepe, and it was sort of just like the micro interactions, the niche decisions that you were making were sort of like, when do I draw my 2 cards? When do I do when do I do this? Do I hold multiple damage jugglers? Do I just throw some out? Or what am I doing? When to play Wavering Eyes was a big decision as well, because if you got it wrong, you could lose the game. And if you get it completely right and you hit for 4, you win the game. Like, on the spot, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, and it was very huge for players to play like that. So Tier 0 formats are skill intensive in the sense that, well, they test you as a player. You're playing the same deck as someone else. The better player should win. Sometimes, because this is a card game and luck is involved, the luckier player can win. But that's just Yu-Gi-Oh! That's just any card game, really. So don't worry too much about that if you're experiencing getting sacked over and over and over. You can also learn from it, try to play around the common things that you're getting hit and sacked by. It's not the end of the world. But hey, yes, that's the reason why Tier 0 formats are good, because they do promote skill intensity. It's less of a diverse format, which is bad, but it does mean that you have to be a better player to do well in the events. And so, with a little bad and a little good, let's go into some final thoughts. Final thoughts on this are sort of as follows. Tier 0 decks are bad, and Tier 0 formats are bad if you are a casual player, or you're just not competitive and you're not interested in playing Yu-Gi-Oh! To go to events and just win. The reason is, quite simply, to play Yu-Gi-Oh! To have fun, you need to play against a lot of different decks and different people and playstyles and things like that. But in a Tier 0 format, you don't have that. You just have one deck and it's the same style and it's just not fantastic to go against over and 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 over again. You would get really bored and burnt out and you just would want to leave. But if you are a competitive player, Tier 0 I think is great. Because it's really the chance to prove yourself. You're not having a bad matchup, you're having the same matchup. Your deck is as good against theirs as theirs is against yours. The only difference is a little variance in deck building. Maybe you build a version of the deck that's better against itself, but wouldn't they as well? You basically play in a Tier 0 format saying, like, they've got the same list as me. Probably. Maybe it's one of the small variance things, like they have a slightly different list. Can I take advantage of that? Is my list slightly better against theirs or theirs against mine? How can I play around that? But the combos and everything are usually all the same, so it's who's the better player? You or them? And that's the person who usually should win. And I think, quite honestly, to be a competitive player and to be like, this is a format where I need to use all my Yu-Gi-Oh! Skills to do better. I need to play as best as I can, to outplay my opponents. I think that's really just the heart of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! That's what you want to be doing 9 times out of 10. And that's why I think overall, I'm a big fan of Tier 0 formats. Because that's how I used to be when I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitively. I was always about learning the intricacies of the game to have those technical play skills to really play around my opponent and outplay them, basically. That was all I wanted to do. Just to show that I was, decent at the game and could do stuff. And when it came to my turn to be in a Tier 0 format in Pepe, I went to one regional and I won the regional and I had some guy telling me that I was the worst player he's ever seen, and I'm not gonna win, and then I beat him in like round 4 or something, I don't know, and proceeded to win the entire thing, and he did not do so well. So, yay to me. Tier 0 formats are okay. Like, comment, subscribe, and all of that jazz, and we'll see you in the next one. Just before we go, Among Us.